My parents and the parents of some of my peers were activists. They were civil rights activists who really believed in bringing some level of equality to our community. And so our parents were determined that we would participate in that activity, that cultural shift that brought integration into the Austin school districts. I was in the 9th grade, and there were 5 of us who went to University Junior High School to integrate. One of the girls who was so friendly and was such a nice friend for me during that first year, when her parents found out about it, they punished her. Every time they thought that she and I were in any kind of connection, she ended up having to really endure some kind of harsh treatment at home. And so it was a lesson for me that although in some of the southern school districts where they actually had 1 or 2 children to go, because you hear those horror stories of the kids who went by themselves, they were escorted to the schools, and there was so much opposition, and there were people chanting, "We'll never integrate," and that kind of thing. I think Austin kind of gentled into it a little bit more.
When I was at Austin High, we had PE. This is before Title IX, so there weren't any girls intramural sports or anything like that. But after archery, it was tennis. And there was one girl who was competitive nationally at Austin High. And I almost beat her, and I had never played before. The next thing I know is I'm called into the office, and I had to take another math class.
No way.
Yeah, but it took me a long time to realize it, because they played at country clubs, and country clubs were segregated. So they just said, we'll just stop this in the bud.
So they made you take another class to replace that.
Yeah. So I was excused from PE. Even in first grade, we were taught you have to be better than perfect, because one day you're gonna be in competition with white people, and you gotta be the best. My mother always said you have to know how to type, and you have to know how to teach.
Most of the opportunity available at that time professionally was either you were a school teacher or, we didn't even have a lot of people on the police force. We didn't have a lot of people in the fire department, so they were educators. And they were very determined to make sure we were well educated, that we were not left behind. So you will notice that a lot of people my age, we're particular with our grammar, with our, vocabulary.
I'm a good teacher, meaning I don't have to know how to do something to teach you how to do it. But I think that comes from, I'm inherited. My parents were teachers.
Both of them.
Yeah. I thought we were privileged to be able to do what we did, because my father would say to my mother, well, you go in and get arrested. I didn't want you to work anyway. So so my father never picketed or never did anything like that. And he would drop me off at UT, and he would fuss the whole way. You could go to Tillotson for free because he was a professor there. I said, no, I have to continue my integration.
That was you continuing your job?
I was doing my job, yeah.
I was not led to UT. My father said, you're going to UT. So that's pretty much the way it was. His logic was he had 4 children to educate, and I could get in, and therefore I was going to do that. So I had no choice.
At the time, they had semester was after Christmas. So they gave us take-home exam. This was analytical geometry. 8 questions. Each question took 10 pages. Then you collate all those things, and the answer was 3. Well, the white boys called me and said, what was your answer? And I said 3. So the professor gave them all A's, and he gave me a C minus. We had things to integrate. I mean, that was like our purpose.
We were considered to be seniors because we were seniors in junior high school in the 9th grade. So there was chatter among our friends that there was an annual picnic that was held in Zilka Park, and the kids would go swimming in Barton Springs Pool. So our principal called us in, the 5 of us black students, and explained that we were really lucky because we had the day off and we didn't have to go. Well, we pretty much saw through that, as our parents did as well. And so our parents did not take no for an answer. We got into the pool, and that was kind of the extent of it being an event. I don't think we even really swam in the pool, but the whole thing was just the significance of having an event where black children were in Barton Springs. We thought we were integrating Barton Springs Pool, and we kept that idea for, until very recently, when it was determined, and we realized that we had not integrated Barton Springs that day. We had been allowed to go. What should have been documentation of that historic event was suppressed. It was never reported in the papers. So the very next year, Joan Means was a senior in Austin High School, and a similar situation occurred with her senior class. So she determined that she would make an effort to integrate the pool. So when they had their senior class day, I think she jumped into the pool, and of course she was escorted back out. So Joan organized some classmates, and they started what they called the swim-ins. And this continued until Joan left a short time later she graduated from Austin High. She left to go to the University of Chicago at the end of the summer. Janet, her sister, next youngest to Joan, continued to try to buy a ticket.
And this guy, Chris Leipziger, tall white guy, convinced me to walk down to the pool. I had not done that before. I'd only just been in line. And he pushed me in, and I screamed. And my mother had not left. She was getting in the car, and she heard me scream, and so she jumped out and started yelling. And a white man in a suit started running and saying, "Bertha, Bertha, please, this will be integrated on Monday. I promise you, please don't make a big deal." And my mother was known for making big deals. So that was 1963.
All of the various ones of us in our different efforts ended up finally accomplishing the integration of Barton Springs Pool.
Hello, my name is Saundra Kirk Stevens, and I'm turning 29 this spring and grew up here in Austin. I'm here today in favor of renaming the Barton Springs Women's Bathhouse in honor of the late and great Joan Means Khabele, who is my grandmother, who I and my siblings and the rest of our family refer to as Go-Go. Our grandmother is somewhat known, talking to people and just being, "Oh yeah, if you saw that bus, that was our grandmother." And
I remember recently I went to Barton Springs and I was just inquiring about, because they put up the plaques with all the history of Barton Springs, and I was just inquiring about my own grandmother. And when I asked and said her name, the staff just gave me completely blank looks.
And I grew up swimming in Barton Springs. And without her efforts of desegregating Barton Springs, I wouldn't be able to swim there.
There's, some questions I have about having Barton Springs be named Barton Springs, and then to have, Joan Means Khabele Bathhouse. Like, the those are two things that are directly in opposition of each other. I hope that renaming the bathhouse does kind of push people to learn more, not only about, our grandmother and about our family, because there's so much history in our family, but really just the history of Austin and Black Austinites. And I hope this for any other, Black family in Austin, that our names are out there for people to really learn about the history of Austin, and then confront the reality of what Austin is, and through confronting and acknowledging and recognizing that, Austin has a kind of rough history with racism, and still does to this day, like progress can slowly start to be made.
And the funny thing is, I never wanted to swim in the pool at all.